So I ended up picking up another tool with some small cutoff wheels to get into the tight spot that I wasn't able to with the other 4-inch wheel. So now I can cut this little corner right here that I wasn't able to get to. And then same thing over here. Gotta finish cutting off all this and this part. And then I gotta mark up this one to see where I'm gonna cut it. And then I think I'm gonna take off a couple inches right here. And then once that's cut off, I can mock it up on here, see how much it overlaps, mark it as well, and then finish cutting it, and it should bolt up perfectly. Alright, so now that it's cut pretty straight on both sides, we can finally start mocking up this one. I already went ahead and drew where that cut is on this guy, so I don't want to pass that. If I do pass that line, then there's not going to be enough metal to fill in. So I'm going to shoot for like maybe a half an inch or an inch before the line. And then we're going to mock it up, see how it fits. Alright, so now that it's cut straight to where I want it to be, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the edges because they're kind of sharp right now. I'm gonna clean up both edges and throw it on, and then I'm gonna make more marks, and then we'll cut that again. So here's a new piece mounted up. It's being held on by some C-clamps and vice grips on top and at the bottom. All I gotta do right now is I need to make one more line, and I need to scratch it into my car, because right now it's overlapping by like maybe half an inch or so, and I don't want any overlap because that means it's gonna be sticking up a little higher than what it should be at. Same thing over here, it's overlapping maybe like half an inch or so, maybe a little bit more, but I need to scratch this, and I need to make one more cut on my car side. That way they meet up like butt to butt perfectly. So right here, you can see the line I made all the way across. That's the one that's really important. I don't want to cut on it. I want to cut right underneath it. That way I don't lose that material. Because right now that line is where the other one meets up to it too. So if I cut right on it, I'm gonna be losing that material. So I gotta save the line rather than cut that line. Same thing over here. I gotta save that line and not cut on it. I need to cut just a hair before it. That way these things meet up perfectly. So this is what's gonna take a while. I'm gonna take my time with this. I don't wanna rush it, because if I cut too much, then it's like, damn. Alright, so now I got it cut and sanded how I want it to be on both sides. Let's see how good this piece fits now. That's perfect. That is perfect. Cool, let me put some clamps on there and see how it looks. Alright, so the gap is it's a little bit bigger, but it's nothing I can't fill in with the welder. I think that gap right there is like the worst, but that's no big deal. I'll fix that easy. But for the most part, it's all pretty even. Cool. We're going to be prepping the new piece to be welded to the body. I'm gonna have to sand down the paint on both parts, on the outside and on the inside. That way the weld gets like a better penetration. But first I'm gonna have to tack weld it on a couple spots so that I can throw the door back on and the fender back on to make sure all the gaps between the doors and the fender and down here line up. If they don't line up, then I gotta make some adjustments. If they do line up, then we can finish welding it. Ugh. Alright, so now that it's done and prepped, sanded down the bare metal, we can go ahead and throw some weld-through primer on the car itself. That way we can mock this up, tack weld it in a couple spots, and throw the door back on there to see how everything lines up. Alright, so I got it lined up as best as I can. I'm just gonna go ahead and use my flux core welder just to tack weld it in, and then we're gonna throw the door back on there to see how it looks. Alright, so now that it's all tacked in, it's not the best tack welds. Since it's really thin, it's kind of hard to weld, but they hold. So both sides got a couple tack welds everywhere. Again, it's not the prettiest, but like it's really hard to weld this thin metal. So more than likely it's gonna be really blotchy, but then I'm about to go in there with the grinder and smooth it all out and then throw some Bondo on there and just make it all perfect afterwards. But now that it's all welded, we can throw the door back on there to see how everything lines up. I'm liking how everything lines up. Pretty even gap across the whole door. These lines I made earlier helped a lot, like lining up the whole door and everything. I'm not even gonna bother throwing the fender on since like this whole door line and this new skirt line lines up. The gaps are perfect. It's pretty much ready to go. Just gotta finish welding these seams, the spot welds, all underneath it as well. Finish welding this seam. Ugh. And finish welding the spot welds inside of here. Let's do it.